Have you ever stopped and asked yourself this question? If God looked at my life today, would he say he is first in my life? Or would he say that I am? This is a serious question. It is a question that I recently asked myself after reading a verse in the Bible. And honestly, it made me search my heart. The verse is John 3:30. John the Baptist said, "He must become more important while I become less important." When I read those words, I could not stop thinking about them. What does it really mean for God to become more important, and for us to become less important? In John chapter 3, some of John's disciples came to him. They noticed that people were now going to Jesus. Jesus and his disciples were doing ministry, and many people were following him. The disciples seemed concerned. They probably expected John to feel threatened or jealous. But John understood something very important. He knew that he was not in competition with Jesus. He knew that his purpose was to point people to Jesus. He understood that Jesus must increase and that he must decrease. John was not trying to build his own kingdom. He was focused on God's kingdom. And that made me ask myself a difficult question. Who is more important in my life? Is God more important? Or am I more important? Am I living for God's will? Or am I living for my own desires? Am I focused on what God wants? Or am I focused only on what I want? Have I become so distracted by social media, views, likes, money, success, and the things of this world that I have forgotten the assignment God gave me? These questions are not only for me, they are for all of us. Who is more important in your life? Who is more important in your relationship? Who is more important in your business? Who is more important in your career? Who is more important in your health journey? Who is more important in your daily decisions? The answer to these questions reveals who is truly sitting on the throne of our hearts. Many times we say that God is first, but our actions may tell a different story. Sometimes our plans become more important than God's plans. Sometimes our desires become more important than God's desires. Sometimes what we want becomes louder than what God wants. And when that happens, we have become more important while God has become less important. But that is not how God wants us to live. God wants to be first in every area of our lives. Not just on Sundays. Not just during prayer. Not just when we need help. But in everything. Even in the little things that we think do not matter. God cares about every part of our lives. As I continued studying, another verse came to my mind. In John 4:34, Jesus said, "My food is to obey the will of the one who sent me, and to finish the work he gave me to do." Think about that for a moment. Food gives us strength. Food keeps us alive. Food satisfies hunger. Yet Jesus said that doing the will of God was like food to him. His greatest desire was not comfort. His greatest desire was not popularity. His greatest desire was not success. His greatest desire was to obey God and finish the work God gave him to do. That was his focus. That was his mission. That was his priority. And as followers of Christ, that should also be our priority. We are not here simply to chase our own dreams. We are not here simply to do whatever feels good. We are here to know God, obey God, and fulfill the purpose he created us for. Jesus said something else that is very powerful in John 5:30. He said, "I can do nothing on my own authority." Then he said, "I'm not trying to do what I want, but only what the one who sent me wants." Imagine that. Jesus, the Son of God, was not living to please himself. He was living to please the Father. He was not pursuing his own will. He was pursuing God's will. That is humility. That is surrender. That is obedience. And that is the example he left for us. The truth is that our flesh always wants to be in control. Our flesh wants its own way. Our flesh wants comfort. Our flesh wants recognition. Our flesh wants attention. But the Spirit calls us to surrender. The Spirit calls us to trust God. The Spirit calls us to put God first. Because what we want is not always right. But what God wants is always right. God sees what we cannot see. He knows the end from the beginning. He knows where every road leads. He knows the future. We do not. That is why we should trust him. That is why we should not lean on our own understanding. That is why we should follow his leading. So today, I want to leave you with the same question that challenged me. Who is more important in your life? Is it God? Or is it you? Be honest with yourself. If there is any area of your life where you have become more important than God, let today be a wake-up call. Let today be the day you surrender that area back to Him. May we become less so that Christ can become more. May our desires become smaller and His will become greater. May our plans bow before His plans. And may we spend our lives doing the work of the one who sent us and finishing the assignment He has given us. Because at the end of the day, the most important thing is not what we wanted. The most important thing is whether we did the will of God. God must become more important, and we must become less important.